A deep dive on Giants candidate Rodney Linares, what to do with Jerar Encarnacion, and a player profile on Trent Harris. That's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Alan Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140 as well, the Alan Stiles Show, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., as well as emceeing at Sacramento River Cats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we have a deep dive on manager candidate Rodney Linares. We also are going to talk about what to do with Giants outfielder Jerar Encarnacion. And last but not least, we have a player profile on Giants pitching prospect Trent Harris. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So surprise, surprise, we finally have a Giants manager candidate, wait for it, that has coaching experience. That is what we have in Rodney Linares. Rodney Linares is currently the bench coach for the Tampa Bay Rays. He has deep roots in coaching and player development. Linares spent over 20 years in the Houston Astros system as a coach and minor leaguer before joining Tampa Bay. In 2022, the Rays elevated him from third base coach to bench coach, replacing Matt Quatraro, who left to become a major league manager as well. As a minor league manager in the manager system from 2007 to 2018, he compiled a record over many levels and has been involved in the development of stars like Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, George Springer, and others. He also managed in the Dominican Republic, that national team for the 2023 World Baseball Classic, giving him international managerial experience and exposure to elite talent. His father, Julio Linares, has been a longtime figure in the Astros Dominican baseball world, which has influenced Rodney's own development and pedigree. So Linares brings both experience, coaching lineage, and exposure to high-performing organizations. This is why he could be a strong fit for the Giants. Let's talk about where he aligns with the Giants' needs. Player development and track record. He's proven in developing talent. Having coached in Houston's system during its golden era, he's familiar with developing stars from the ground up, an asset for a club that needs both internal pitching growth and defensive consistency. And that's something that they want to pay attention to and focus on as well. That's what Buster Posey continues to say. Analytical and modern organizational background. Both the Astros and Rays are known for relying heavily on analytics, modern pitching strategies, and creative roster construction. I know that might scare some of you. That might sound a little Gabe Kapler-esque, because going back to the Rays when they were in the World Series, what was that? Almost 5 years ago now, whenever that was, and pulling pitchers too early, things like that. But I think the belief is that Rodney would be able to find the balance there. Linares comes from organizations that succeed with smart, efficient approaches rather than pure spending. That matches what the Giants seem to want. A manager who can integrate with the front office rather than fight it. He's got in-game experience and that bench coaching role. As bench coach, he already has exposure to in-game strategy, matchup decisions, and handling the bench. That gives him a more tested foundation than a coach without such experience. He's already part of big league decision-making, at least in some capacity, and that adds to the leadership and reputation. Linares is respected for teaching and communication and building relationships. He's navigated the jump from minor leagues to major league staff and has earned trust in high-performing systems. That suggests he could command respect in a new clubhouse. And I was just talking a couple weeks ago about that jump from minor leagues to the bigs, and how often or how not often that seems to happen. He's got a fresh but mature profile. He's not a rookie in coaching. He's got decades of experience, yet he isn't stuck in old school modes. That gives him potential to be a bridge to generational gaps, to lead veterans, but also motivate young players. He does come with some risks and challenges, though, because no candidate is perfect. Linares has some obstacles he'd have to overcome. let's just add it to the list of everyone else. Lack of MLB managerial experience. He hasn't been a big league manager yet. There's always uncertainty in the transition. Handling media, pressure, performance, accountability at the top level can expose gaps not visible in coaching roles. Stepping out from comforting systems. Moving to San Francisco means leaving the Rays' well-oiled machine. Even though he's a strong executive fit, he might face more resistance in a new culture with expectations to win immediately. Expectations versus patience. Giants fans and media will demand results fast. If Linares is given control, he'll need early buy-in and I would say quick success, or risk being judged harshly for growing pains. Roster and performance constraints. The Giants roster has holes, right? The bullpen, the rotation depth, the offense. A new manager may struggle to offset those weaknesses. A manager cannot fix all those deficiencies. I do think Buster would set up or will set up whoever they hire in that regard. And of course, he needs buy-in from the vets as well. The comparison to other candidates that we've talked about, unlike internal or catcher type candidates that we've mentioned before, Linares brings no direct Giants ties or prior tenure in the organization. That's double-edged. Less insider friction, but less built-in trust. Compared to a college outsider like Vitello, Linares has more MLB exposure and less of a learning curve on a pro level and that management. Compared to veterans with deep MLB experience, he might be seen as less proven, but his pedigree in elite systems gives him credibility not many internal candidates have. The verdict: is this a move the Giants should strongly consider? As far as I'm concerned, I think that he should be serious consideration just because he does have that coaching experience. He does come from somewhere that has been known to exceed expectations, because you're going to, I think, be set up even better in San Francisco as far as the money is concerned and the salary distribution is concerned. So I think he's somebody that can kind of be that middle ground, and you could put him in the list. I don't know that I would put him at the top. I just don't personally know enough about him, but that's just a name that I wanted to go over with everyone because that's a name that's been floating around as well. When we return, what to do with Jerar Encarnacion and that crowded outfield. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What I love about FanDuel, I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Another day, another outfielder that can't really play center field, that has shown some flashes, but we're not really sure what to do with. And today it is Jerar Encarnacion, okay? The big man who can really hit when he actually is on the field. He came into the Giants fold on a minor league deal in May 2024 in AAA Sacramento. He performed extremely well, hitting around 352, 438, and 616 with 10 homers and 33 RBIs, which prompted San Francisco to select his contract. At the big league level in 2024, in 35 games, he slashed 248, 277, 425 with 5 homers and 19 RBIs. Encarnacion's tools are attractive. He's a big-bodied bat, 6'4", 260, with just a ton of raw power. His StatCast profile shows strong exit velocities, hard hit rates, and barrel rates. In 2024, he had a hard hit percentage of around 58.8%, a strong average exit speed. However, he's also faced injury setbacks and limited consistency. In 2025, in spring, he fractured his left hand during a diving catch in right field. He underwent surgery, and the injury cost him the first portion of the season. More recently, the Giants, they did bring him back, and that's when they optioned Luis Matos to free up that roster spot. Offensively, in 2025, his sample is small and underwhelming. 19 games, hitting 200 with 2 homers, 7 RBIs, and 214 on base percentage. So the big picture is mixed, high upside, power potential, but risk, inconsistency. It all hangs over his profile. So he's got three options, and it's very similar to the other options we've talked about with Luis Matos and with Elliot Ramos as well. You could commit to him if the front office believes his power is real and recoverable. You can lean into him, use Encarnacion as your primary corner bat, designated hitter weapon in matchups, and let him absorb ABs. That's just not going to happen because, well, I'll say this. It's not going to happen from the DH perspective because of Rafi Devers. I mean, Rafi is lefty and Encarnacion is righty, so that could work there. I just don't know that the Giants, I don't want to say believe in him that much, but want to commit to him like that. The pros of doing that, he has shown what he can do in the minors and flash in the bigs with consistent playing time. He may adjust and grow. His power can transform a lineup that lacks pop. Inconsistencies, and those are some of the cons. Those roster spots are very, very tough to come by, and you could maybe send that to a more balanced hitter instead of leaving it with Encarnacion. Number two, the platoon spot use role. Rather than full-time, you could use him in matchups versus left-handed pitchers as a power pinch hitter, as a corner DH in favorable spots. You mitigate downside while retaining upside. That's the pro. You preserve roster flexibility. Don't lose too much if he slumps. Cons, limited playing time can stunt rhythm. Also, veteran players sometimes struggle in platoon and intermittent roles. Given his high strikeout rate and low walk rates, platoon might shield him from right-handed pitching exposure while letting him lean into its strengths. And last but not least, of course, you could trade or flip him for value. If he doesn't earn consistency soon, use him as a trade chip while his name still carries some intrigue. Other teams chasing power bats might find him appealing. You convert uncertainty into assets. I don't really know what his value is. It's probably not crazy, but you do see what he can do at times, and I think that's the tough thing about Encarnacion. Of course, if he pops somewhere else, you might feel a little upset that didn't happen with you, but I think a lot of people would be willing to do that if that happened to be the case. It's just tough with him because you have seen it, and I would say that later opportunity that he got when he was red hot for 2-3 games, got hurt, and he couldn't be on the field. And when that happened, they brought up, who was it? They brought back up Luis Matos, and Luis Matos started playing really well. So that right field carousel, everybody got opportunities, but nobody took the bull by the horns. And, Encarnacion, to me, if this was a young team and you didn't have the payroll that you have sitting at the top half of the league, then I would love to give Encarnacion at bats, but there's just no room for him. And he's out of options again, just like some of these other outfielders. So unfortunately, there's just nothing you're going to be able to help him with just because you got bigger fish to fry. You can't sit here and let him. And I think the bigger thing, as my coach always says, you can't make the club in the tub. When we do give you opportunities, and obviously nobody's trying to get injured, but when we do give you opportunities, you don't seem to be somebody that can even stay healthy consistently. So how can we even look to make you an everyday right fielder or an everyday anything? I think he's big enough to play first. I believe he played some first out here in Sacramento, but again, they have way too many corner DH first base guys. They have way too many. And some of the names that people were throwing around as guys get eliminated from the playoffs, the teams do, and you're looking at certain players that are not going to be available. It's just too many, man. Right? People want to get in the Kyle Schwarber sweepstakes, and Kyle Schwarber is a Hall of Famer, right? I get all that, but you have way too and again, if you want to move somebody else, you can move somebody else. I'm not saying do not go after Kyle Schwarber, but you just have too much redundancy with the same position. That's a huge issue with the Giants right now. So because of that, I'm sorry to Encarnacion, but it's just not going to happen. I don't see there being any room based on what the Giants need. Again, if this was a different ballpark, cool. And not that he needs to be in a smaller ballpark because he's got the power, but then he could really take advantage of it. Just not going to be able to do that here. One more segment with you. When we return, let's go into a player profile on pitching prospect Trent Harris. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put up organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Maximizing investments, increasing my savings rate, easily reviewing finances with my partner and my financial advisor, keeping a clear view of my financial health week to week and long term. That is how I'm maximizing and using Monarch Money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Today, we have a profile, and it's a really good story on right-handed pitcher Trent Harris, who is the 16th ranked prospect in the Giants organization. They believe that, well, they thought he was going to get to the bigs in 2025, so that will now get pushed to 2026. And I was double checking to see if he got a cup of coffee. I do not believe he even got that. He ever got that cup of coffee. So next year will have to be the year where he breaks in to the big leagues. So Trent Harris, like I said, good story. He signed with the Giants in 2023 as an undrafted free agent after pitching at Division II UNC Pembroke. Never give up on your dreams, kids. Look, if you're listening, you got a kid that is going D2 or D3. Baseball is one of the only sports where they'll find you. They really will find you. JUCO, it doesn't matter. Before signing, he was a two-way player in college, contributing both on the mound and at the plate. He has a family baseball lineage. His father, Greg Harris, pitched in the majors, and his brother spent time in pro systems as well. Harris overcame Tommy John surgery in 2021 as part of his journey as well. In 2025, he was selected for the Futures game, pitching a scoreless inning and earning some national buzz. In short, Harris is the underdog story of the Giants system, undrafted, injured, persevering, and now making noise. Here's how he's looked statistically in the time that he has been in the bigs in 2024 across several levels, including AA Richmond. He posted a 1.81 ERA, struck out 105 batters in 79.2 innings, and held opponents to a low batting average. He was named the Giants pitching prospect of the year after that season in 2025 at AAA Sacramento. His numbers have regressed a little bit. 4.40 ERA, 57 innings, 65 strikeouts. His minor league career totals are solid, though: 17-5, a 2.56 ERA, and 203 strikeouts and 158 innings prior to 2025. Some splits point to trouble in the PCL. The Pacific Coast League is hitter-friendly and often punishes relievers with thin margins. In that environment, Harris has given up more hits and runs, though his strikeout rate remains respectable. Harris has been working to refine his splitter, turning it into more of a consistent off-speed weapon. He said he's throwing it a lot and finding a better shape on it. So here are his strengths and upside. Strikeout ability, as we keep talking about. Harris has shown he can miss bats, all right? The 105 Ks in 79.2 innings in 2024 is elite level, dominating for for the minors. Perseverance and grind profile. His undrafted path, recovery from surgery, and rapid ascent make him a mental grinder. That matters, especially for bullpen arms facing adversity. Splitter, he can use it as a weapon. If he can command that splitter, it gives him a third pitch and can neutralize left-handers in the batter's box and break up lineup timing. Relief flexibility. Given his path, he's likely best framed as, at least initially, a bullpen piece, multi-inning, high leverage, or swingman usage. Upside and high leverage roles. At his best, Harris could be a late inning reliever or a bridge arm, especially in a bullpen that needs a strikeout depth. Here are some of his risks and challenges: his regression in AAA, the inconsistency, again, that splitter control, durability, and workload because he's coming off of that injury not too long ago, age and ceiling. He's already 26, and he did go undrafted, so there's less of a developmental runway than a younger arm. So he's definitely got to get to the bigs in 2026 and start that process. Use him as a high leverage reliever in AAA and get him up to the bigs as soon as you can. In the midterm, if he stabilizes the numbers, he could be a key bullpen piece for the Giants, possibly scaling into the 7th or 8th inning. Long term, he's unlikely to be a frontline starter. His profile, mode of breakout, and age push make him more of a bullpen weapon, but the Giants need that as well. A durable, consistent, high strikeout arm in late innings is extremely valuable. So the hope is that he can turn this thing around, figure some things out, and be able to give the Giants just another option in the bullpen, because obviously they're going to go out and spend money. We've talked about Tyler Rogers. We've talked about some others. But if you can find somebody internally that also helps push that line forward, that's what we like to see. And that's what we are hoping we do see. And it's funny because, you're never sure what the future is going to hold, because I look at obviously having Tommy John, but a D2 pitcher, right? I'm telling you right now, as somebody who played mid-major Division I baseball, the fastest I saw was 96. That's the fastest I saw. So for him to be at the D2 level throwing 94 to 97, I'm sure there are a lot of players on those other teams thinking, how in the world and why in the world are you here? So he definitely has a fastball that can pop a little bit. We want to see all of that return and continue to return. The PCL is very confusing, because and I guess it's not that confusing, but if you aren't familiar with it, you might not be sure what you're looking at when some of these guys come up raking and then they don't rake in the majors. And then you see some of these guys come up and they're not pitching as well, and then they pitch better once they get to the big leagues, right? So there's obviously a balance, but in the PCL, it's very hitter friendly. Sutter Health Park itself, I think it ranks pretty much in the middle as far as hitter friendly, but that's still in a hitter friendly league. So when you see certain guys come up, Luis Matos, and they're balling out at Sutter Health Park, and Sutter Health Park is obviously more hitter friendly than Oracle Park, because that's not very hard to be or to do. So when you see guys balling out like that, then they get to Oracle, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the weather. I know it sounds silly, but the weather's even different. Sacramento, it could be cold. I'm not saying it doesn't get cold, but you get out to the Bay, it's windy. There's a lot of going on. There are a lot of differences when you make that jump. And I'm sure it's the same with a lot of different AAA to major league environments, but it is something that happens. It is a thing. From the pitching perspective, you go from pitching in the PCL, where it's very hitter friendly everywhere you go, right? You got to go to Vegas and you got to go to all these places, and you're pitching at Sutter Health Park. Then you get to the big leagues, and now you're pitching in one of the most hitter-friendly parks in the league, at Oracle Park. So it kind of flips for people, and I think that's funny because it helps you in certain ways, in certain parts of your system and your developmental farm that you have for the Giants. And in other ways, it's kind of confusing what to do. Drew Gilbert was somebody that was funny because he wasn't in the PCL for very long, or he wasn't with the River Cats for very long before he got pulled up. But I'm sure his numbers would have been crazy. It's the same thing that we've seen, again, the Luis Matoses, guys like that, where they come up and you're thinking, okay, this guy's been balling, and then all of a sudden, and we'll see what happens too. Obviously, this guy should be able to power through regardless. But Bryce Eldridge, right? Bryce Eldridge, all those home runs that he hit, being in the PCL, we're going to see that transition period, which I do think is a good reason why Buster brought him up early to say, hey, you ain't at Sutter Health anymore. You ain't in Sacramento anymore. Let's get you some real AB so you can see how you're going to have to maybe alter your approach going into 2026, because some of those mistakes, and Bryce Eldridge has ridiculous power, don't get me wrong, but we saw it. Some of those mistakes, right, and some of those hits that he had, not even mistakes, some of these hits that he had in the big leagues that ended up being flyouts, those are probably home runs in the PCL. So he's seeing firsthand how these things change. But getting back to Trent Harris, we are going to keep a close eye on him. And the hope is that he's able to help the Giants at some point in time in the very, very near future, because we all know that they need all of the bullpen help that they can get. Thank you for listening and watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @the_Styles Files, Styles with an I. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. A local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night, a Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I hope everybody has a good week. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.